you know what it's like living in Boston. You got a big, passionate city, people trying to break up the duo. It's not easy to remain patient. I know that Brad Stevens, to us nationally, is kind of out of sight, out of mind because he's no longer coaching. But keeping that duo together and kind of taking on some of the criticism and then making the move to get Porzingis and then also Drew Holiday, I'm really impressed with the patience that Brad Stevens has displayed.
No question. I mean, I know he won Executive of the Year, so it's not like he's underrated in some way. But this is a team that has been to the Eastern Conference Finals 5 of the last 7 years and was coming off an NBA Finals appearance less than a year ago. And last summer, they got together, the front office, the heads, with the owners of the team, and they said, we cannot keep this status quo, and freed up Brad Stevens to go and make the moves that he did, to add Kristaps Porzingis, moving on from a team, I mean, the heart and soul of the team in Marcus Smart, which I think, to me, that's the only thing that's sad about this run, is that Marcus couldn't be a part of it. But and then also, of course, adding Drew Holiday, but the move that he made at the deadline and adding Xavier Tillman to this group to add some depth to that front court. Now we saw that come to fruition in Game 3 last night. X got his first call off the bench in these finals and was prepared for the moment and came through, hit a big three, and really allowed this team to be able to sustain success even without Kristaps Porzingis.
Abby Chin here with us. Naturally, people are always going to try to divide and break up a duo with Tatum and Brown. It was very fitting that both combined last night for 61 total points. How do you kind of sense their relationship? Because, you know, I understand people say, oh, this person's jealous. And there's I thought it was a lot of stupid stuff after they won the Eastern Conference Finals and some of the commentary that they had about those two.
Oh, yeah, that was completely ridiculous that Jason didn't smile big enough when Jaylen Brown was named the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, you saw his reaction on the floor. There were cameras everywhere. He was thrilled for his teammate. And they are in a great place. Are they best friends off the floor? No. Do they need to be? No, they are. They have a mutual respect. They challenge each other on the floor in practice. They've made each other better, iron sharpening iron, and they have found a way to coexist in this Celtics ecosystem and franchise that, I mean, has won more games than any other team in the league this year in the regular season with 64. I mean, all they're doing is winning right now. They've lost 2 games in this postseason, and their net rating is off the charts. So there is absolutely no beef, nothing going on between Jason and Jaylen, and there hasn't been all season.
We played some audio from Jason Tatum earlier as Abby Chin is here with the Celtics sideline reporter, and he kind of poked fun at the Celtics not really getting credit throughout most of the season. I get why they didn't, because it was championship or bust for this team. How much of that was kind of motivating behind the scenes, that this team has been great all year, but nationally and even locally they weren't going to really get their respect until they hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy, which now they're 1 win away from doing so?
I don't think that was a motivating factor for this group. This group understood that the mission was to get to banner number 18. And the reality is, when you play for a Celtics franchise, anything less than a championship is a failure. And so, yes, while that was around this group, I think the thing that has stood out to me about this team in this season is that they have not been affected by that outside noise. In the past, you couldn't say that. And this team, and it's the leadership, I think it's the addition of Drew Holiday and just a calming professional presence inside that locker room. Kristaps Porzingis also adds just an element of fun. He's been so joyful playing this season. And then you also have the steady veteran in Al Horford. They just have not, they hear the noise, they understand it's going on, but they also understand why those conversations are happening, and they don't allow it to affect them inside that locker room.
What's the latest on Porzingis with his health for Game 4?
So he just got out of practice, and he was on the floor. It didn't look like he was wearing some large, overbearing brace on that injured ankle, but he was kind of just, and he was moving. He was doing some shooting around the basket and doing some pivots in and around the elbow. And he was walking, we just saw him walking back to the hotel with no noticeable limp. So I think it remains day to day. I'm not sure that with that injury that you really need to risk it. The Celtics proved that they can still beat the Mavs without him. And so I think it will 100% depend on how he feels tomorrow. And as Joe Mazzulla made very clear before Game 3, it is not a decision that is in his hands. It is in the medical staff's hands on whether he'll be able to go for Game 4.
I'm so confused with the injury, and I don't play doctor on this show, but like it seemed so serious when people say it's a rare injury, and then hearing day to day, I like wonder if there's any gamesmanship that's going on there. Do you have any understanding of the exact injury after it initially broke and then where we are now?
Yeah, talking to team personnel. So it is, what is torn is the sheath that wraps around the tendon in the ankle. So the tendon itself is fine and intact, and so that's something that you can brace once the swelling goes down. And I think the swelling was an issue to begin with, and I'm not sure how much that has gone down. And then it's also something that the reason it's rare is because it's basically a sprained ankle, right? And so if you're, Joe Smith walking down the street, you get a sprained ankle, you're not going to go get an MRI that looks into detail of the sheaths covering your tendons. You have an ankle sprain. And so it is rare in the fact that it has not been diagnosed in NBA players, I think, right? They've only found one other case, so there's not very much literature and study on it. But it's also something that, while Joe Mazzulla sat at the podium and said it is serious, it is something that I think, depending on the circumstance, can be braced and dealt with.
By the way, I don't know how much of this is just social media and then how much is it like maybe it being falsely portrayed on social media. Did the Mavs skip out on practice today? I was seeing something on that in their open availability, Abby Chin.
Not that I saw. The way it works is the teams get 2 hours on the floor. The last half hour, the media can watch, and then they do their media availabilities. So they set some press conferences up on the floor, and they set another one up in the back big podium, and that's where the coach and Luka and Kyrie spoke. So from what we saw and were able to see, it didn't seem like anything was out of the ordinary.
Gotcha. Let me ask you about the Mavs. Luka Doncic, what did you make of him last night? It seemed like he was more focused on complaining to the officials than getting back on defense.
It didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to me for Luka, right? I mean,
you're not wrong.
That's what he does. And I think he clearly did not believe that those refs were going to foul him out of that game, and which is why he was so aggressive in getting that sixth one. But he put his team in a terrible position, and I will tell you, I was watching from the bomb because we get to do a walk-off on the floor, and I was pretty concerned when they had cut it to a one-possession game, but then Luka fouled out, and I said, oh, this thing's done. Yeah, I got to focus on who we're going to talk to.
The Mavs, to me, their approach in this series has been bizarre. Like, I know the Kyrie storyline is always going to be big. I know he played well last night, but in Boston, there was that old back and forth with the fans where he was trying to basically make it seem like it was no big deal, but his actions didn't reflect that. Jason Kidd with all the mind games that he was trying to play, and then Luka worrying more about the officials. It just seems like the Celtics are a mentally tougher team here, Abby.
No question about it. I think that that's been proven through these 3 games, and I think that that is going to be the biggest test for the Celtics going into Game 4, is if they can focus on this without looking ahead, because you can't deny the numbers that no team in the NBA in a 7-game series that's gone up 3-0 has ever lost. So I think that Game 4 has been the challenge. The team themselves have maintained a very even keel, and will be the first ones to tell you that the job is not done yet, and that is all anyone would say last night. No one is celebrating. No one is getting excited yet. And so I think that it's clear the Celtics are the more mentally tough team, and it is the most mentally tough team that I have covered in my time with the Celtics, and this is my 13th season.
Abby Chin here with us for a few more moments of the Zach Gelb Show. Does a great job at NBC Sports Boston as a sideline reporter. I thought there was a lot of unfair criticism with Joe Mazzulla last year. How do you think he has grown from last year to this year as a basketball coach?
He's grown immensely, and he'll be the first to tell you that. And he will also be the first to tell you that he believes we as humans and him as a coach should be continuing to grow. He was thrust into an impossible situation last year. I was going through the timeline with someone recently. He got the job on Wednesday. Training camp started the following Monday. So there is no way to go from the back of a bench assistant coach to a head coach and be the best coach in the NBA. But he still led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he took all of those experiences and this summer was able to really set a culture with this team and with this group, and they did it together in a conversation, and it has just been really cool to see him and what he's been able to do this season. Derek White could not be sing any more praises about Joe Mazzulla, and just he's been so good at keeping the group together, keeping them focused on the mission, and then also challenging them and making sure that they are prepared for these moments. He talked throughout the regular season about how he liked those times when the Celtics let the lead slip and they had to figure out how to respond. And everyone's like, "Really, you do?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was fun." I don't know if anyone can explain it better. Derek White was like, "Yeah, he's a sicko. He's just super competitive, super driven, and willing to do whatever it takes to get his team to win." And so it's been really cool to see.
What do you think we'll see from the Mavs in Game 4?
I don't know. Listening to Kyrie today, I don't have much hope for them. He sounded just kind of done with the whole thing. So, I mean, it's the ultimate definition of a must-win game. And so if they can come out desperate, if Luka can come out and put up 50 and Kyrie can add his 30, they've got a chance. But I still like the Celtics.
She's Abby Chin. She does a great job, Celtics Island reporter for NBC Sports Boston. Abby, enjoy the sushi and also the barbecue, all right?
Thank you.